Imagine waking up when your body is ready. No alarm clock vibrating, no schedule to keep, no boss waiting. For 99% of human history, this wasn't a vacation day. This was every single day for 290,000 years. Today, the average modern human works 90,000 hours over their lifetime. We wake up to an artificial buzzing, rush through traffic, and sit in a box for 8 hours to pay for a box we only sleep in. We call this progress. But before agriculture, jobs didn't even exist. No employment, no wages, no careers. So, what did our ancestors actually do all day? In 1966, an anthropologist named Marshall Sahlins did something that shocked the academic world. He studied modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Hadza of Tanzania and the Juhwansi of the Kalahari Desert, to calculate exactly how much time they spent working just to survive. The professors expected to find a brutal, exhausting struggle for survival. Instead, they found that adults spent only 15 to 20 hours a week on hunting and gathering. The rest of the time, they did whatever they wanted. Sahlins called them the original affluent society. They weren't poor because they had nothing. They were rich because they wanted very little. And the archaeological evidence backs this up. When scientists compared the bones of ancient hunter-gatherers to the early farmers who came after them, they found a horror story. The pre-agricultural humans were taller, stronger, and had almost perfect teeth. Their bones showed very little sign of arthritis or malnutrition. But once humans settled down to farm, their skeletons shrank. They became shorter, their teeth rotted from grain-based diets, and their joints were ruined by repetitive field labor. The transition to agriculture wasn't a step up. Anthropologist Jared Diamond called it the worst mistake in the history of the human race. But what about stress? We often think of cavemen as living in constant, terrifying fear of predators. But evolutionary biologists look at this through the lens of hormone levels, specifically cortisol, the stress hormone. For an ancient human, stress was acute. If a saber-toothed cat jumped out of the bushes, their cortisol spiked for 10 minutes of intense survival adrenaline. They either escaped or they died. But once the event was over, their cortisol returned to baseline. For the modern human, stress is chronic. Your boss sending an email at 9 p.m. doesn't kill you, but it keeps your cortisol elevated at a low toxic level for 40 years. Our ancestors had dangerous moments, but they lived lives entirely free of chronic anxiety. So if they only worked 2 hours a day, how did they spend the other 22? First, they made art. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found shell beads carried from 20 miles away, carved purely for beauty. In Germany, at the Hohlefels site, they found a 40,000-year-old flute carved from a swan bone. They played music. They painted caves. They decorated their tools. They didn't produce things for utility. They produced things for meaning. But mostly they talked. Anthropological studies show that ancient humans spent up to 6 hours a day simply sitting around the campfire. This wasn't wasted time. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar discovered that campfire conversation is actually what allowed our brains to grow so large. We didn't invent language to discuss hunting, we invented it to gossip. Sitting around the fire, sharing stories, grooming each other, and laughing was the social glue that kept tribes from falling apart. Fire was the social media of the Stone Age. It is literally what made us human. They even slept differently. Before the light bulb, humans didn't sleep in one 8-hour block. They naturally slept in segmented sleep. 2 distinct 4-hour phases. They would fall asleep at dusk, wake up at midnight for a quiet, meditative period of conversation, stargazing or lovemaking, and then fall back asleep for another 4 hours. It was a deeply relaxing, natural rhythm that kept their minds calm. We lost this cycle only 200 years ago with the Industrial Revolution, when factories demanded we sleep on artificial schedules. So, why did we stop? Why did we trade a life of leisure, perfect health, and 6 hours of daily campfire storytelling for spreadsheets and alarm clocks? The answer is the agriculture trap. Farming allowed us to grow more food, which meant we could have more babies. But more babies meant we needed to grow even more food. We became victims of our own success. We traded individual freedom for population growth. We built cities, invented hierarchies, and eventually created what we now call employment. For nearly 300,000 years, we had all the time in the world. Now, we have all the things in the world and no time to enjoy them. And most of us have no idea what we gave up.